guys? So, a little unorthodox for me as I am trying to clean things up. So, we kind of left off with me being eternally pissed off at my wife. I think we had actually left off with the fact that I had just gotten my son back and then lost my job because I didn't have daycare. Well, things have been unique, to say the least. And I don't think they've been bad, but they have been a little trying. So I'll give you kind of the catch up, just so everybody knows. My wife, at some point, the night I got Kaged back, realized he wasn't coming home. And she kind of had the same reaction I had when I found out that she had walked away with my son and, decided that she wasn't able to cope with that. Checked herself into a residential crisis center, make sure she was okay for the night. And during that time, she called me. We got to talking. And I told her what I've been saying all along. I don't hate you. I am pretty pissed off about what you did, though. I really pulled no punches as far as the discussion we had. And it did open some dialogue, though. I understand my wife's situation. I understand she has mental illnesses that she does not know how to deal with and that virtually nobody knows how to deal with. It's not easy. It's not easy for her. It's not easy for me. It's not easy for anybody involved. So, just like last time, I am left with a choice. And it's a choice I don't particularly like, but it is a choice. And life is full of them. Choices we like, choices we don't. At the end of the day, we can only go by the information we have at hand. Having said that, I kind of explained to her that what she does has huge ramifications, as she is now seeing. She's starting to see the fruit of some of her labors, so to speak. And it's difficult because some of the consequences are pretty big. And at the end of the day, what can you do? I mean, really, what can you do? The judge never put in a injunction, so legally I can't keep her from coming back. We're both on the lease here, which is something that has been very well explained to me and to her. So legally I can't keep her from coming back. Because of the situation I'm in, it puts me in a financial strain like nothing I've ever been in, because now it's not just me. Now I'm fighting for my family, especially Kaged. So, we talked about it, and I told her that I think if there's ever a chance for any reconciliation ever, she has to agree to treatment, agree to some serious, in-depth, advanced treatment that deals with her kind of issues. And so I kind of established that, I'm willing to help her because she is my wife, because she did have our son, because there is a sense of duty and responsibility there. I would help her as long as she is helping herself. And I'll be honest, I think that at this point, I'm not really putting myself in danger. I don't believe that I am at all. And the reason I say that is because I think that at this point people have seen what's happening. They've seen the outbursts, the accusations, whatever it may be. Like, people have seen. And so I'm not concerned about that so much. And so my concern then becomes, there is still a person who deals with things that I don't deal with, who deals with things that most people don't deal with, and that most people don't know how to deal with. And you have to have some kind of empathy in that situation, because I could be pissed off and say, fuck you, I don't want to talk to you ever again, and I want nothing to do with you. That doesn't solve anything. And it doesn't solve her getting help. It doesn't solve my son growing up without one of his parents. I don't want my son growing up in a broken home. It doesn't solve any of that. And so, yes, it is an extreme situation. It has to be taken very seriously, which is what I'm doing, but I'm also putting things in perspective. And I'm saying, look, if you're really willing to better yourself, I am willing to stand by your side and help you better yourself. And I think that anybody should be excited for anybody that's willing to better themselves. I've always stood in the corner of anybody willing to do something to make their life better and to become a better person, which is something I have had to do in spades. So we are working together, and we are trying our best to figure out, this new territory that we're in. I think that because it is my wife and because it is my son involved, there is a lot more care and concern for the people involved. If it was somebody just being an asshole to me that I didn't know, I wouldn't care. But I do care because I am so intimately involved with these people, and they do mean something to me. And so I think that that's something that you just have to take account for. Now, having said that, there's a couple other issues that have been kind of flying around lately. One of them being my work, or at this point lack thereof work. And some people feel some kind of way about it, and that's fine. People are always going to be entitled to their opinions. But until you know the facts of the situation, that's really all they are, is opinions. And I really don't care what people think about my life. I have to live it. So, with work, it got kind of interesting. I actually got an email from their lawyer because they didn't like what I was doing and saying, and I could care less, to be frank. The lawyer said, we've got you on a voicemail threatening people and threatening the company, and blah blah blah, and you kept reaching out to people after they told you not to, and all of this nonsense. And so my reply was pretty simple. I've never threatened anybody except for with legal action or a public discourse about what happened. And frankly, I'm entitled to both. There is nothing that I have said about my former employers that is not factual. There is nothing that I've said that is defamation of character or inflammatory. It's straight facts. Like, I went back and rewatched the videos, and I'm like, no, this is pretty by the numbers. And that is well within my rights. Well within my rights. So I replied to her, and I was like, please don't tell me that I've threatened anybody from there, because it's not like I ever threatened physical harm to anybody. I've never threatened to do anything illegal to anybody. I have threatened legal action and using my public forum. Seems well within my rights. And I went on to say that maybe you should check your clients. Maybe there is a fundamental flaw in that store. Maybe there is a culture of abuse and looking the other way. Maybe there is a culture of people abusing their power. And maybe there is a culture of people being allowed to let their attitudes out on their fellow employees. It is possible. So, they tried to give me some scare tactics, and they want me to shut up, and that's really not me. Like, if you've done something to me, I tend to speak on it, and I really don't have any fear of a lawyer contacting me because you don't like what I have to say. I told this lawyer that I have all the texts that I've sent. There is nothing that goes against any laws in those texts. And in fact, the last text that I sent to the store manager said that it was going to be the last contact I had with anybody in that store unless as a customer. Said it plain as day. And then the owner of the store calls me and he's like, oh, well, I don't want you contacting anybody from this store again and blah, 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 and I don't want to see you in these stores. And I was like, I've already said that. So I texted him back and I said, I don't want you calling me again. I've already stated to Michelle that I don't plan on contacting anybody else unless it was for customer needs. And if you don't want me going back to DG Ace, I don't have to. I don't need to walk in those stores anymore. I don't feel the need. And if you don't want me there because you think I'm some kind of problem, okay, fine. Then we don't need to walk down that aisle. I'm perfectly fine with that. But I also added, maybe you should check your employees and find out what's actually happening in your store. And I left it at that. And then I get that email because I said something about using YouTube and stuff like that. And it's like, go ahead. Frankly, it's an illegal firing. You fired me because I didn't have daycare. And that's really what it came down to. At the end of the day, I went into the store manager. I've taught this before. I asked about switching days. He agreed. Said he would double check with his wife if he didn't call me back that I was good. And then I even triple checked, called the next morning, and that's when I found out about the no call, no show. I've been through this all before. But at the end of the day, it was because I had my son back and didn't have daycare. That is illegal as far as I know. So all you can say, all you want about what I did and what I'm threatening and all this, the reality is, it's illegal to fire somebody over daycare like that. It is. My wife just had our son. He's just 2 months old now. He wasn't even 2 months old when this happened. He was like 6 weeks. I mean, and you're trying to scare me? I don't scare easy. I have been through far worse in my life than some uppity owner trying to scare me into silence. Doesn't work like that with me, buddy. At all. So, I haven't really spent a lot of time thinking about that, though. I kind of let it go. And, the only reason that I let it go isn't because I don't feel like holding somebody liable. It isn't that I think that some people there don't deserve to be checked for what they've done to other people. It is simply because I have bigger things on my plate. And that's really all it comes down to. I had to get money to make sure that our rent was covered, which I did. And I got enough money for this month, probably next month's rent, and all our bills in between. So that gives me enough time to, get something new, get caught up on things. It gives me a little wiggle room here because things were going to be very tight if I didn't do something. So I was able to figure that out. And so now, it's kind of a new chapter in our lives. I am giving Becca a lot of grace right now. And I'm just saying, okay, we're going to cough this up and call it what it is. I knew what I was getting into when I married you. I knew there were mental issues there. And I don't want to see your life ruined because of that. And so I am helping her out as long as she is helping herself out. Now I need to help my family out and get my ass going again from square one, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. And I'm focusing on just being present right now with my son, with my wife, trying to rebuild. I've had to do a lot of soul searching in this, and I look at it like this, and I can't really say it any better than this. At many points in my life, I have needed forgiveness from people for things that I have done. And honestly, sometimes those things were not small. So who am I to not forgive somebody for what they have done? No matter how big or how small. It was important that I think we stepped into this the right way. Not focusing on the past, but focusing on the present and trying to prepare for the future. And I think that's a big thing with us right now, is we need to be present with each other. I have my gaming that takes up a couple hours at a time, but I try to make sure that every day we are doing something together. Every day we are focused on each other for at least a little while, because it's super important that we have that connection again, and that we try to rebuild what has been broken. We both have some raw feelings about it. She knows that I was pretty pissed, and she came back and she found out that I had a lot to say about it. So it is what it is. We both have things we have to look past. And I try to explain, when you make certain choices, there are certain consequences. Sometimes you just have to bite the bullet. Speaking of, there is one. So that's wifey and baby. But it's cool because now we're working together and trying to figure this out as we go. And it's not always easy, but at least we're putting in the effort.
Go bring the TV.
Later.
No.
We're gonna bring the big TV in the living room in here. She wants me to get on it. But recording comes first.
No, it doesn't.
But I need to, put my focus in on the job thing. Obviously, that has to come. That's a priority. Absolutely. It kind of sucks being where I'm at my age and having to get another job. And honestly, ever since I left the post office, I've just had a really hard time finding my footing. I've gone through a lot of menial jobs that don't pay very well. Some of them just treat you like shit. This hasn't been the first job that treated me kind of poorly. And, I don't even make enough to really support my family on my own. Me and Becca have to put our money together to even have a chance. So, it is kind of a frustration, and I am the type of person who, while I am willing to swallow my pride for my family, I have a hard time taking just straight up abuse. And if I think somebody is abusing their power, I have no problem speaking up. Some people don't agree with that. I actually had a very long lifetime friend who wants to back away because of the choices I made. And it's these are the choices that I am making for my family. I stuck with the job and tried to make it work as best I could. It just wasn't possible. There's really not much that I can do about that. You can only do so much, but I have literally had more than one employee just out of the blue just start a verbal berating, and I'm just like, where is this coming from? What is wrong with you? And it's happened more than once there. And I only worked there for 3 months. It wasn't a very long tenure. And you know, I mean, I probably was in that office like 10 times. I don't know exact numbers, but I mean, I was probably in that office like 10 times trying to talk about the problems that were going on there. And for 3 months, that's a really bad sign. So I don't know, man. I don't know. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about looking into the future right now. You know, trying to make a solidified future so that I can take care of my wife, my son, and, you know, pick up the pieces. We'll get there. It may take some time, but we'll get there. So with that being said, I'm going to get out of here because she wants me to put the TV on there. And, you know, I'll keep you guys updated as things progress. I'll talk to you later.